Okay.
Estamos en una industria.
Hello, colleagues and friends. Welcome back to the Think Catalyst podcast. I'm Ricardo Ferraris here with my business partner and good friend, Vivek Kuchibotla. Welcome to this week's podcast. What are we celebrating this week, Vivek?
We're celebrating our second birthday. Was October 23rd, 2021, when we launched Think Catalyst. So we are officially 2 years old.
Right. Fantastic. Congratulations.
Likewise, it went by fast, didn't it?
It did. It has. And it's been
really fast.
It's been quite enjoyable and very productive, very productive. So October 23rd is actually the date that we incorporated Think Catalyst LLC. Very, very happy, very happy to be on this journey with you. It's fantastic. It's been really good.
Likewise.
And so in that context, Vivek and I thought that we would do a podcast on some of the things that we've learned over the last couple of years. Not the basics. Well, one would say some of these are basics, but for us, it's been surprising that a lot of the common sense that would go into the business is actually not there. And surprising things, right, that we've learned over the last couple of years.
We got to write these things down and share them. Makes me think of an ex-boss of yours and an ex-colleague and good friend of mine who has a habit every year. He takes out his little booklet and he makes a list of all the accomplishments that he's had in the year, and he lets people know about it. So it's a good practice. We should do it as well.
Absolutely. I share that sentiment, and it's good that we do this, and hopefully to the benefit of our audience and our pals and our friends and our clients who have supported us, and we thank you in advance for all of that. We have written and posted in our LinkedIn profiles and on the Think Catalyst LinkedIn page a little bit of our accomplishments over the last couple of years. If you want to go into that, we want to thank you again. And today we'll talk a little bit about the surprising things that we've learned over the last couple of years. So, and again, I mentioned basic because they seem to be basic. They seem to be common sense issues. And yet here we are continuing to often making the same mistake or repeating ourselves, etc.
Some of the stuff will be controversial, but it's worth listening to. It's worth listening to. I think one of the challenges we have in this industry is that we sit in our own little bubble all the time, and we never actually get a bird's eye view of what's going on. So I think much of the value of what we're going to do in this podcast is provide that bird's eye view and maybe challenge the status quo a little bit.
All right. What's the first point that we want to talk about, Vivek? You want me to lay it out?
Okay. No, I want to do this because I've been going on and on about this for decades now. Right. But I'm happy that you're on board and we agree that this is definitely an issue.
Yeah.
But I think in the process of a pitch, all competing agencies in the pitch tend to unknowingly, I stress that, focus more on how they're similar to their competitors than focusing on how they're different and better than their competitors. So a typical credentials presentation will basically follow the same format, hit the same points, and the only real difference is going to be the people who are standing in front of you presenting and the proprietary name given to the tools and the logo on the PowerPoint or the keynote. But aside from that, they're saying the same thing instead of saying why they're different. A lot of people, when are going to be stunned by this. They're gonna challenge what we're saying, but we've seen enough of these presentations now to affirm that this is a big issue.
I was just going to say, I think we've seen some 60, 70 credentials presentations. And the cookie cutter format is there. Who we are, what we do, here's our organization. These are all the tools and the skill sets that we have. Galore. One agency spent 60, 70% of their whole presentation on their tools. And at the end, I didn't remember one, but anyways, very, very much the cookie cutter format. And let me tell you, having worked on the agency side all of my life and up until 2 years ago, and now that I am seeing this as a consultant, it's blown me away. It's blown me away how similar all credentials presentations are, how undifferentiating they are. And yet we've seen a couple of examples of when creds are really good. And what happens, Vivek?
That agency immediately jumps to the lead and becomes the favorite going into the final round of the presentation. And you want to be the favorite. You don't want to be playing catch up in the final presentation. But I think one other thing is important here, because within the context of a pitch, the advertiser will schedule 2 or 3, maybe even 4 presentations in one day. So he's actually seeing these presentations of credentials side by side by side by side. And the only conclusion that he can draw is that all of these agencies are the same. And then that leads directly to, okay, so I'm going to choose the one that offers me the lowest fees. And that's the very definition of commoditization.
Yeah.
So we as agencies are shooting ourselves in the foot by doing this, and we're sabotaging our ability to charge for a fair price for our services. This is a major issue.
So net credentials are all very similar, hugely underestimated, undervalued in the whole pitch process and how we present ourselves. A huge opportunity
Huge.
to we call it DBR, right? To highlight your difference, why you're different, why you're better, and why you're right. This is not about being I'm better than the other ones. I am different, especially in this mode, because of this, and this is why I'm right for you. So
absolutely,
hugely undervalued, hugely underestimated. Agencies, think about it. Review your creds and refresh them. And it's not just a brush over. It is a deep process of going through what it is that you want to say about your agency. One quick example, and I did this with Vivek like 6 years ago. We redid the creds for one of the agencies that was being managed in my group. We went to one client, and I think we went to 2 presentations, and we avoided the pitch. The client gave us the business right away. And it was just a completely refreshing, unexpected view by the client of what we did and how we positioned the agency to help them out. So in advance, already thank you, Vivek, and that was an example. And then we'd love to see more of that in the industry.
What's the French phrase, and forgive the truck driver accent, but vive la différence.
Vive la différence.
Long live the difference.
Here's a second.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, all right. I'll do this one. And and it's funny because one of our services is agency search, and we help advertisers we help advertisers find agencies when they're looking for an agency or want to start a review. You know, our service is really about doing it professionally, rigorously, with a process, with knowledge, etc. But most pitches are actually done directly by advertisers. And what we have found out is that they know very little about the agency business, about a pitch process, about what to ask in a pitch, how to run it, how to develop a brief, evaluate properly agencies. So this is the other surprising thing. Many advertisers mistakenly think that they know enough about the industry to carry out their own agency searches. And again, one of those outcomes is, you know, CMOs are not lasting long enough in their positions. AOR assignments are not lasting long enough because a quality and thorough review didn't happen.
They don't know what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's dangerous. And, you know, maybe 20 years ago, this was a little bit easier to do because there were 3 medias and agencies were full service, and there were maybe 10 or 15 agencies in the market. But nowadays, there's different media, different platforms, different technology, different specialists, different ways of charging for the work. People are moving around more than ever before. It's challenging even for someone who is 100% focused on understanding the industry to keep up to date with what's going on and who's where and why this happened and why this didn't happen. It's virtually impossible for a marketer who has a job to do to also know enough about the industry to do this properly. So beware. Do not do a search by yourself. You'll put your foot in it and you'll regret it.
Much more complicated and specialized environment. So
absolutely,
totally agree with that.
And constantly changing. That's the in an industry that is as talent driven as this one is, just losing one person from an agency can drastically change that agency.
Mm-hmm.
And we just talk about one variable, which is the talent. There's others. So yeah, it's a minefield out there. You got to be careful.
Without going into the bigger details, I mentioned the consultant can help you out on a lot of the, you know, aspects of a pitch process, etc., and the selection. But I think what the real value of the consultant is that it challenges you to really fully understand what it is that you need for your business. And that is probably one of the biggest fundamental errors that happen in a pitch process, which starts with the wrong objectives, which starts with not really understanding what the business needs and how a communications partner, media partner, digital partner can come in and support you in that. So food for thought. Certainly it'll come up in future podcasts as we go along and drive a lot of the industry points across, but an important one at that.
Absolutely. Do you want to take this one?
Sure. Having had the opportunity to work on both creative agencies and media agencies, one of the things that I really cherished very much about working there was the relationships that I generated with my clients. And relationships matter for a number of reasons, mainly to drive trust, to drive quality, to drive a result, and to really be a partner. I'm not going to talk as much about the creative side right now, Vivek. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the media side, which was my recent experience. Only because I think media is sold on a number of different promises, when in fact, the most important aspect of a media, the selection of a media agency, is your team and their ability to reach into some deep connections with the media that will, this is not just about driving price, but about driving understanding of what your business needs with the media to then come back with a very articulate and a very thought through proposal. Many media agencies, unfortunately, are asked to pitch with specifically media pricing and their agency pricing as the key driving factor of the decision. And we could not be more far away from making a terrible decision based on that. And so one of the most important points that we've found out over the last 2 years in pitches, and this contrasts to my experiences running a media agency, was that the relationships do matter. You can have all the tools, all the capabilities. You can have a lot of other assets that will work with you, but if you don't have those very strong connections with the media that can help invite the media come into and have a conversation with a client in a way to understand the business, it's not going to work. If you're going to buy cheap media, you're going to buy media that's going to run at 2 a.m. You're not going to buy the best inventory, and I'll tell you that right now. So beware of that. And the other thing that I found, and I learned it when I was running media agency, but I learned it even more with media pitches, is the media professional has a negotiating DNA inside them. They're traders. They take one thing and redefine the value around it. It's how much do we get, where do we get it, etc. And so that connection with that combination of DNA is really the strength of your media agency partner when it comes to developing your media plan and negotiating it and buying it and executing it. So
I think it's interesting that when agencies present themselves, they don't talk about much about the relationships that they have with media. At some basic level, everyone has a relationship with the key media players, but some agencies have stronger and better and deeper relationships. And when the shit hits the fan, excuse my French, when the shit hits the fan, the tools are not going to save you. It's the relationship with media that is going to save you. So I think that it's really important to get a gauge how strong the relationships are, because you'll need them going forward. And not only when the shit hits the fan, but also the stronger the relationship, the more good things your agency can get for you versus competitors. So there's an upside to that as well. Absolutely. So relationships matter a lot. They're never talked about, but they matter a lot.
Right. On the creative side as well, too. But we just wanted to focus a little bit more on the media, because the big issues with agency searches and with pitches, and where we've seen a lot more activity, is on the media side. And it seems like clients are pitching media agencies every 2-3 years. So, and I don't think honestly, I don't think it is the most useful and productive exercise. You're basically telling your agency that they're, even though they've worked really, really hard for you and achieved many things, it doesn't mean anything. It's only worth today, and tomorrow you're going to have to re-earn it again. And that's difficult. That's difficult.
It's thankless.
It is thankless.
But one more thing, because of the nature of the media business, it's probably one of the few industries where you can actually monetize a relationship.
Mhm.
And what I'm saying here is that the stronger the relationship, the more you get for your client. You can actually put a number on that, versus what your competitor can do for you. So yeah, this is not just talk. This is money. This is actual money we're dealing with.
Which dovetails into the next point. Let me run it quickly.
Yep, you go ahead.
It's very similar to that.
Mhm.
And maybe my recent experience can give a little bit more perspective, and then you can finish off
Sure.
with our with our last point. But it's interesting. Some agencies, media agencies, seduce advertisers by proposing lower media costs. And unfortunately, that translates into lower quality media as well. But it's a cost-saving exercise. And that is far away from the truth of what you're really getting. You may buy less expensive, but you're not buying the same thing. You're buying something different. You're not buying what you were used to buying. Okay, that's the first thing that you need to understand. You're buying something else, and it is of different quality, period. There's no two buts about it. Advertisers are often seduced by huge cost savings, which ultimately lead to not fully delivering on what the business needs. You need to buy quality media to build and to drive your business. And that has been proven qualitatively and quantitatively. But it is somewhat of it's a little bit of a farce that low quality media will get you to your results, and low costs will get you to your results as well.
That thinking applies to every single category I can think of. If you're buying a car, a Toyota is not going to perform like a Ferrari. There's a reason why it has a different price. That's kind of a law of doing business. So we shouldn't ignore that basic law of doing business just because we're dealing with media and someone is feeding us a line that this is really cheap, but it's going to do the exact same things as the expensive version. It's not going to do it. It's not going to work.
Especially since we live in an era where there's a lot more metrics around the performance of media. So we can really, really see which one is working harder for us. What is the difference between 1 million likes and 20 million likes? 19 million likes, but I'm not sure if that really sells that many more products around that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Some clients think that that's a really good measure. We'll go to the last point today, and actually we're going to do a part 2 of this the following week, because there's more learnings about what we've learned. There's more surprising learnings over the last couple of years. But Vivek, take this last point and we'll close this podcast and pick it up again next week.
Yeah, we've had so many learnings that we're just overflowing with learnings. So the last one, this is I think very important. When an advertiser is selecting an agency, all of the competing agencies are going to talk about their cases, about their planning process, their network, all that stuff. But the only thing that really, really makes a difference and matters is the actual people who are going to be working on your business. That is the bottom line. If they show you case studies that are wonderful, the question you have to ask is, so did the people who are going to work on my business work on those case studies? If they say yes, that's great. Otherwise, disregard them, because great work done by other people for other brands, maybe in a different country, is not necessarily applicable to you unless you have the right people. So it's all about getting the right people on the business. Don't fall for the bait and switch. It's all about the people.
Mindful to also to note that, and truth be told, there's a lot more rotation in agencies and in general other employments, even on the marketing side, than there's ever been in the past. But a good client will get a good agency team, one that is more stable, probably sticks around more, and is very motivated to work on the business. So food for thought there as well. When you decide on your agency, make sure you know exactly what you're getting and who you're hiring. And it makes sense to get to know the people. The people in the end are what makes the agency, not the agency.
I'd go a step further and I'd say never, ever, ever hire an agency unless you know who's going to be working on the business.
Yeah. All right. Part one of the surprising things that we've learned over the last 2 years. We didn't want to make it longer because we can go on forever on this on our learnings. But part one today. Next week we'll continue with part two. Lots to talk about. Happy anniversary, Vivek. It's been a great ride up to now for the last years, and I hope there's many, many more years to come.
Absolutely.
Our business is growing. We're making also an effort to create a more cultural awareness around some of the issues that we discuss. If you like what you see, subscribe, give us a like, and if you would like to have a further conversation, you know where to reach us, either through LinkedIn or through our website at think-catalyst.com. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Okay.